Next up, at the 5th Connect Future Ready Leaders Summit, it is now time for us to invite a dynamic entrepreneur and a financial strategist. As the Managing Director and CEO of SBA Capital Services Limited, he's somebody who specializes in strategic advisory, capital structuring, and sustainable growth models. He brings that strong expertise in designing high-impact financial solutions tailored to evolving market needs. His leadership reflects that innovation, operational excellence, and we believe he brings the long-term value creation in the India's financial ecosystem. It's indeed an honor that he's amongst us, ladies and gentlemen, the MD and CEO, SBA Capital Services Limited. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sandeep Parwal.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have been having a very wholesome sessions and insights into what the markets are, how the country is moving, and how we move for Viksit Bharat. Whether that is all aspects related to inclusion, training, skill development, growth, AI, the new technological impacts, the market participation, the way the wealth inclusion has been happening. I think everything looks so positive, and we are at a unique moment of history of centuries, where perhaps this transformation will be happening. My view, and I think that in this journey, if we can contribute in whichever format, but in a wholesome, positive way, we will be really making a meaningful difference. I choose to jot down my points so that I don't miss on things, but I have a couple of thoughts which I'll certainly like to share. The current moment is indeed defining in the global history, and while on one hand we have the so-called developed markets really moving from their achieved strength and different scalable position, completely successful position, to now getting sustainability or justifying their presence and maybe moving towards survival also. They will have to struggle for that also. Having said that, India, the way things have been groomed up over last so many centuries and with the demographic dividend, we are in for great moments to build up this story. We have heard all the great aspects and all the positive aspects. I come from a slightly different perspective in terms of when everything is moving good, what could derail the things? What could really despise, and how we should take precaution that we don't get entrapped into something new. Because this journey is not going to be a simple straight one. As a generation, all of us need to participate, contribute, and involve in combating this. Actually, on this, I'd like to share a side note on when I was young and maybe a 20-year-old, I started driving a car. My dad used to always scold me when I used to drive above 60. Today my son drives at 200 also, and I can't say him anything. The world has moved so fast and we are moving everything, but that actually is still scary. Because at a high speed, when everything is moving so fast, if you do some mistakes, the impact could be disastrous. So at 60, you could have an impact. You could do things were less equipped, but you could manage that. But now things are really getting that much more in a fast track zone. And whether it is AI, whether it is all the new technologies, whether it is the cloud computing, whether it is the new emergence, everything is moving in that form. And caution is something which is critical. Caution is not being highlighted or not being considered as aggressively as it requires to be done. I am closely associated with the capital markets. The kind of inclusion which has happened over the last few years in terms of capital markets, the IPOs, the volumes of trading, the market capitalization of organizations, the mutual fund growth industry, from a less than 80,000, 1 lakh crore when I started the mutual fund entry, today to a 80 lakh crore. It's simply numbing. In less than 25 years, you can't grow so much times. You can't be doing that much. And is everything fine or no? Is there something which is amiss? Can this ball be distorted? And can there be a concern on this? Is what needs to be penetrated and really involved. All of us are very sure that while the India story moves long term for growth, we are confident we have the demographic dividend. But are we taking adequate precaution to create meaningful value for our future generations? Greed at times takes priority. And when greed takes priority, we are saying that, okay, we have this, everything is moving, let me also just pull in an IPO right now and I can make a fast one. No, that is not the way how things can work. That is not how India can be truly Viksit in a sustainable format. We have to see authenticity in terms of the regulators have done a beautiful job, the lovely job, very thorough job, the exchanges have done a phenomenal job. The platforms, the financial inclusion, but is everything green and overboard? I have my apprehensions, and I don't hesitate in saying that. The way before every market cycle, the so-called SME or some other formats of IPOs increase substantially. The frequency of IPOs, 200 plus in a year, is that much kind of capital formation happening? And check about any IPO which was listed, say 3 months ago, especially in the SME or the smaller exchanges, how many of them are really creating value? After 3 months, they have lost the limelight and they are not investing. How the exchanges, the merchant bankers, the regulators, all the other stakeholders moving on this? My concern is the way the promoters are coming up with their OFSs. The international investors are coming up with their IPOs and their NFOs or their selling of their OFSs, right? And how the companies are being listed. Is there a true value creation? My take is it is shifting of capital from a retail investor who believes mutual fund sahi hai or directly invests, and then to the other segment. The fact remains on this platform only, last year I was sharing that equities will not generate return. I had a documented publication also, I have shared that also. And I'll be surprised to know if somebody tells me that they have made decent returns on a wider portfolio. Select stocks I can't talk about. None of the schemes have been delivering returns. In fact, even the large cap funds barely struggle to beat a fixed income returns. So we are moving towards Viksit Bharat, everything is gold, the Indian recognition, the political, the diplomatic, yes, things are moving. But are we there at ground level on these things with the inclusion? When the average per capita increases, there will be additional savings and investments. Do we have a platform related to that? Similarly, we will be having other multiple formats. I just won't restrict myself to savings, even on other industries. There'll always be a smart money which is chasing things and which can front run things. Our regulators are strong, our exchanges are strong, they have platforms, and their wisdom and knowledge will be of utmost help. Talking just that the investor assesses him for himself or the intermediary does it, he perhaps has his vested interest because that is what his revenue is. I think there is an opportunity for things to be built up on long-term basis, and this can really be creating a difference. Just a sec. Briefly, I'd like to just state about the factors that could be disrupting this. A is there are some institutional uncertainties. The infrastructure acceleration is good, but how it has to sustain over a period of time consistently. Regulatory complexities have been increasing with the digitization. The kind of cyber risks which have enhanced at the ground level are there. There has to be a simplification and thoroughness related to that. And most importantly, it has to be all inclusive, so it has to be a complete human capital development which will address these market vulnerabilities or those segments. Even the ministries recognize this. The finance ministry works very aggressively, and the minister has been stating that we want to address the so-called F&O thing. At times they will do some restrictions or lending restrictions or STT restrictions or some other segments will be working on. There are some challenges on those. At times, although I am not a trader, but I see that on a couple of exchanges, there are settlement deficiencies, not the NSEs, they are good ones, but the MCX, etc., there are gaps over there. The safeguards alone will not be, has to be more wholesome. If we really get into this mode of creating this, covering these risk aspects, the other positive aspects, as Panigrahi sir said, is so wholesome, as Krishan sir said, that this is doable and can really be achieved, and covering the risks in a high flow journey will be that much more important, is all what I'll say. We'll have discussions and viewpoints related to this, because when you are flying fast, you can't take that risk. You have element reduced for the risk which you can afford at that stage. Thank you very much. Thank you.
May I request other guest of honor and 5 minutes group guys?
If we could now request all our dignitaries from the inaugural session, our chief guest, our guest of honor, everybody who was there in the inaugural session to please proceed towards the main stage. We'd of course like to capture the moment. I know a few of them have stepped outside for a quick meeting, but for the ones in the room, let's give them a big round of applause, please. And thank you so much, Mr. Parwal, for joining us and for your expertise and extended support. Thank you so much.